here with an impromptu live stream. It's not going to be super long. And thank you for your patience while I play with my handy cam. I might be uploading some walk and talk segments later if I can mash them up together, so watch for that if you're interested. I just wanted to point out a couple things real quick. I was planning this for this morning, but then I briefly saw on my feed somebody who subbed to the channel did a video that's probably very similar, so I didn't watch it, and I do that on purpose a lot of times. I don't watch videos about interpretations and whatnot unless it's something I'm seeking out confirmation about. I want to, I want the Holy Spirit to teach me, so to speak. This is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. All the disclaimers are in the description. No part of this is medical advice. This is research and fair use. So take that as you will. I'll turn these on, but I'm not going to be on here super long. And just as in the days of Noah, so also will it be the advent of the Son of Man. For it will be just as it was in the days before the flood, eating and drinking, marrying and being given in marriage, even until that day when Noah entered into the ark. This means a few different things. Superficially, it means that people carried on with their lives. They did not take the warning seriously, and they were, it sounds like a self-centered group of individuals, maybe. But if you look a little deeper into that, you'll see that there are specific words, and whenever the word eating is used in the Bible, it's almost always in reference to sin of some kind. And by sin, I mean a transgression against nature or natural law or the way that nature operates, okay? And also, we know in that time, there was a lot of hanky-panky happening between mankind and the Watchers, the fallen ones. If you're not hip with all of this, there's a lot of information out there about it. I don't do a whole lot of Bible studies like on video right now at this time because I don't want to, my goal isn't like to sway your opinion so much as to just maybe give you another perspective, I guess, because I don't have all the answers. But when I notice something, I like to point it out. And this person probably knew I was going to do a video on this, and they went ahead and did one. But I'm just going to see where it leads me real quick. I don't want to be at this forever. So first thing I did was looked up pestilence. I did not go via the Strong's Concordance route. Because first of all, when you're going off of an English-speaking Bible, I want to know what that word means in English, right? And then you can go like transliterate and go backwards, okay? But this is the user-friendly way, and it'll make the most sense. If you're mixing Hebrew and English, then you're going to start to get lost, and Latin and Greek and all that. So pestilence, circa 1300, any infectious or contagious disease, fatal epidemic, from Old French pestilence, plague, or epidemic. Directly from Latin, pestilentia, a plague, an unwholesome atmosphere. Noun of condition from pestilentem, nominative pestilens, infected. Now I found this interesting. This is why I wanted to bring this up. Unwholesome, noxious, from pestis, deadly disease or plague, also in Middle English, wickedness or evil, sin of vice, that which is morally pestilential. I think that is very good grounds and proof of when some of us talk about each verse meaning multiple things at the same time. You've got that superficial surface layer, the material, then you've got the spiritual, and then something else dealing with like a timeline, You're not going to use certain definitions from now for words back then, but again, it was written and translated into English, so I found that very interesting that the original Latin word meant unwholesome. So you can take that to mean as you will. So I want to get into and famine. Okay, now you can, when you search the Bible app, and again, I like to show folks how to do this if they don't know. Not everybody's internet, savvy, even basics, so I try to do my little part there. Um, Now you can do a search for the whole Bible, Old Testament, Apocrypha, or New Testament. I was going to do New Testament, but I want you to just kind of see where some of this goes. Now, Ezekiel, this is all prophetic. This whole book, wait, is that where I went? No, hold on. That one? Yeah. So this is Ezekiel 7. And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, And as for you, son of man, thus says the Lord God to the land of Israel, the end is coming. The end is coming over the four regions of the earth. Now the end is over you, and I will send my fury upon you, and I will judge you according to your ways, and I will place all your abominations before you. And my eye will not be lenient over you, and I will not take pity. Instead, I will set your ways upon you, meaning you reap what you sow, and your abominations will be in your midst. And all of these things that you've brought to life, or all of these I mean, you could get really technical there and get into the genetic mindset and look at that from that angle. So let your imagination do with that as it will. And you shall know that I am the Lord. One affliction, behold, one affliction is approaching. The end is coming. The end is coming. It has been vigilant against you. So it gets into judgment here, basically, and it tells you what's happening. But as you go down here, only one of the four horsemen actually enters with a visual sound. And I was listening to this today in the Apocalypse of John, and I think it's, I don't want to misquote there. I'll get more information on that. But anyways, sound the trumpet, let everyone be prepared, and yet there is no one who may go to battle, for my wrath is over all their people. Okay? Now, look at this. This is a day ago. But if we go to the news tab, Tennessee lawmaker wants rules in place for the possibility of injectables in produce. Republicans suggest injectables may be getting into lettuce. Republican warns of them being in there, along with a polio one. On and on it goes. 2023 has the injectable entered the food supply via GMO plants. I had no idea, and now it says again, they're not in the supply. Okay, so do you see them going back and forth and back and forth? Is it just a fear campaign? I don't know. But the first thing I thought about was the days of Noah, because it said they kept eating, they kept drinking, they kept marrying. Now, another way to look at that, back in the day, marrying meant to couple. Anyone that does plumbing or electrical work knows that. My dad taught me that years ago. Coupling meant to fornicate, right? So when you couple, you marry two pieces together. So marry also means just the act of fornication. I know that's not what a lot of Southern Baptist preachers teach on YouTube, but I'm pretty sure it says that one verse at the end about no fornicators, no drunkards, none of them will get into, paradise. That's for another day, but I don't think that we're looking at some of this in the right way. I see your comment there, but I'm kind of just moving along. Sorry about that. Thanks for being here. So it made me think of, in the days of Noah, how all the fallen were sinning against man and beast, and, sinning meaning going against their nature. That meant tinkering with genetics. It meant consuming them. Again, use your imagination there, because it meant more than one thing. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into that right now. Again, I'm kind of, I didn't want this to be too long. I'd be happy to answer any comments that you post after the video posts. So it made me think of that, as in the days of Noah. And then if we go, I don't know what is wrong. I'm not, I'm doing a video. I'm gonna turn the comments off because I'm just not. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't want this to be too long, so I want it to. Okay, now here we have the verse in Revelation, for nation shall rise against nation, already happening, kingdom against kingdom. I actually look at this, and again, in a few different ways. I told you when all the CV began how people were like dropping clues at me, Holy Spirit, whatever. I don't know how to say it other than when people said certain things to me, they kind of raised a flag. And this person had stopped me at the DVDs and said, kept like talking to me about Game of Thrones, like, well, why didn't you like it? And what was it about? And like, just like, again, I don't know how to explain how I get these, I don't know, warnings or alerts. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, kingdom against kingdom. So we have that happening, right? Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. But it's not just literal royalty. It also means like the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light, spiritual warfare. Excuse me, I had to get a sip of my beverage. As I said, this was not planned. My dogs have to eat soon, and I just kind of want to get through it for anyone. I will post links in the description and I'll pin a comment. That way you guys can look this stuff up if you choose to. But if you go back in the news articles, it goes back to like 2020 that they were talking about this, and I didn't know that they were, but somebody I follow, I shared the video on the community tab, he shared it. And so I figured I would touch on this and how it made me think about certain things. Now it says, and I will send sword, famine, and pestilence upon them until they shall be utterly destroyed from the land that I gave to them and their fathers. Okay. Now, in the last days prepare, da, 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 da. Now, I want you to see something, and I don't know. There we go. The Four Horsemen. I did a lesson on this on the main channel, on the other channel, and we got really in depth. If you'd like to do that again, we can. But again, somebody who's subbed to the channel did it last night, so I didn't watch it because I didn't want to be influenced. But again, I'm more focused on what is happening in current events and how it applies to any ancient text, any prophetic text that we have at our disposal, right? And so, the white horse, as a common white horse, he is thought to carry a bow. And again, we went over the bow in Greek and we went over the rainbow stuff, but it also had a lot to do with pharmakia as well. So we looked at that. Now, as Christ, the gospel of the Holy Spirit, some of them understood that Christ is the rider of the white horse. For the broad historical interpretation of Christ as the rider of the white horse, it is to be understood that the Antichrist does not appear until the opening of the sixth seal. Events in world history since the founding of Christianity were interpreted as horses up to the sixth seal event. Therefore, this interpretation can be seen as either partially preterist or an instance of dual fulfillment. I would go with dual fulfillment there myself. That's just my opinion, though. You can see there's a lot of things get muddy with prophecy and whatnot. And I don't think Revelation, it's always been my opinion, it's not in chronological order. Some of those things have already happened. Some of those prophecies were about Mary and giving birth to Christ. So some of those things have already, we've just been waiting for a few more things to occur, I suppose. Now, let's go to the other horses real quick. Now, yes, here we go. In some commentaries, the white horseman symbolizes war, which may be decently exercised on moral grounds, hence the white color. The red horseman specifically symbolizes civil war. Now, we see that happening too. That's kind of kicking off here in America. I've seen it all over the world, at least according to the media. I'm not a world traveler. I can't say for sure what's going on, but I know that people around me are different, and there's a whole lot of cars, but not a lot of people, and people I used to see all the time I don't see anymore. But again, I'm very secluded from this, and there's a reason for that's happening. So I just kind of do my best to ignore it. If you've been with me since the beginning, you understand why. I hope at this point anyways. Now, so we have red also meaning civil war, but also it is to be understood that red is the color of blood. It could be the blood of the martyrs. Now, and I think also, and I've said this in the other lesson we did on the other channel, that death goes with all of the horses, right? Death comes as a result of all of those things happening right then, Okay. And then you can see the Civil War right there. Empiric division, which we're seeing happen. You're seeing the United States get like kind of like the Hunger Games being broken into divisions and whatnot. So the black horse is famine. And they're saying it's going to cost, it's basically saying down here that, say I'm a doctor and you're a janitor, we're going to make the same amount of money and we're both going to be struggling because we're only going to make enough each day to fill our mouths for that day. Honestly, I think that's pretty good considering the rest of the world. That's just my opinion. You know how I feel about fasting from a variety of things, not just food. I have a very hard time trusting anyone at this point who is giving in to their base desires, because even if it's not like the end times or anything, and I don't say that it is, it isn't. I think these things seem to be cyclical. America's not looking very good worldwide. And as much as I love people and I love the country, I think that we all need to be accountable, and the society isn't going to get better until we all start healing ourselves first, and then, that'll kind of ripple outward. But I think it has to be, we all have to be participating in some way in that. As far as the games and all that other stuff goes, I just don't participate in none of it anymore. That's why when it started today with the video, I just turned the comments off, which I never used to do. But then I get distracted and a video can take an hour or two, and I don't want to waste your time like that. If you guys are more interested in this, most of you are adults, you can look it up, or if you want to do like a whole lesson, that'd be awesome. Like, I'm down. You guys know I'm always up to that. But where was it? Oh, and it says they will struggle to feed their families. In the Gospels, the denarius is repeatedly mentioned as a monetary unit. But it says, for example, the denarius was the pay of a soldier for one day, and the day labor of a seasonal worker in the harvesting of grapes is also valued at one denarius. So they're basically saying food prices will rise with inflation. You see it happening, okay? The black horse and its rider are the only ones whose appearance is accompanied by vocalization. There it is, the black one. And he says, not to hurt the oil and the wine, which is great. Rich people can, the wealthy can afford the oil and the wine. But what else is the oil and the wine? Well, oil, if you think back, it was used to anoint the feet of Christ by Mary Magdalena. And Christ turned the water into wine. That was his first miracle. So, they have symbolic meanings too. It's not always literal. But anyways, moving on. Imperial oppression, which we know is happening everywhere pretty much at this point in time. Now, the fourth horse, death on the pale horse. Now, again, it's my opinion that death is the result of all of those things, it doesn't just arrive with one of the horsemen, right? That is a wicked drawing. And by wicked, I mean good. I love that type of stuff. Look how amazing that is. It's just beautiful. Anyways, I kind of wanted to just relate that to you guys. If you want to do a deeper, in-depth look at all this, we absolutely can. But is prophecy being fulfilled? I'm doing all this just purely out of obedience, and as a parent, like, I need to do whatever little bit I can to help. And if, just one person decides, today I need to give my mom a hug, or today I need to be grateful for, my grandfather who's still here. Some of us don't have family still here. Some of us are estranged from our families. Some of us know that our families are better off away from us because we know we're going to be persecuted. Yeah. Anyways, so I don't know how you guys feel about all this. I hope that I touched base on everything I wanted to touch on. Did not want this to be super long, but I did want to give you some visuals there as far as what's going on in the world. And again, if you look up famine and pestilence, it goes over and over, all over the place. What comes with famine and what comes with pestilence, right? And you get disease, and you get dysentery, and you get, bugs and fungi, and, just dirty conditions. And this is oftentimes what happens because of war. But also, think about our infrastructure too here in America. Like, everybody knows, like, Not a surprise. Like 2008, there was supposed to be a stimulus, and that's where it was supposed to go, was the roads. And every other day I watch news from my hometown, and there's like a sinkhole every other day that like a bus falls into or something. So, I'm of the opinion that the mud flood wasn't entirely mud, that it was their plumbing, mixed in with all that too. So it makes for nasty conditions. War is only good for the businessmen who are safe, and tucked away and planning all those things. But I believe in not condoning violence. Do not do any harm to anyone else. As far as self-defense, that's on you. I believe a man should protect his family. But personally, I'm not going to own any guns. I won't live in a residence that has them. That's just not who I am. But I don't, judge you for that. So what do you guys think about all this? Is it just the media playing us? Are people actually that different? Has society changed that much in just the last few years? I think so. And I think people like me and the smaller channels, I think we're laying out proof and evidence in the best way that we can. It's pretty hard to show proof of spontaneous synchronicities, but we try. Anyways, we can do more on this if you'd like, and I will copy some of these links for you guys. Where was it? Did I leave it? I did leave it. I'm sorry. No? There we go. I will post a couple of these in there. Oh, I wanted to see just the archives. Anyways, if you go back, you can see they've been talking about this for a minute. Oh, the high strangeness that went along with this. Remember, it's posted on this channel. I did a reading of this story that just showed up in my Google Drive when all this started in 2018. And the beginning of this story talks about human DNA being mixed with plant DNA. And we also stumbled onto that when I found that basic programming for like AI targeting certain peoples and behavior modification. Remember that alleged game that I found on Reddit? Yeah, they talked about blending the DNA types in that as well. I don't even want to think of any of this, to be perfectly honest with you. And I know that from all the reading I've done, again, this is just research. You can go and do the same research. I'm not a doctor, but when I was researching DNA, trauma can change your DNA. So how, like, that's even, I don't know. I don't know. I just know that what we take into our bodies plays a very big role in obviously our physical health, but also our mental and spiritual health. So please just be careful, be cautious, sit down and pray or meditate, listen for God's voice and just be quiet. Because, nobody can tell you what to do. And, we have to be as discerning as possible in these times. But I do believe things are going to start kicking off very soon here. Oh, there's hold on. Let me just tack this in here because it's related. There's a new one of these. Oh, wow. Antarctica has bird flu. That seems like a PSYOP article. I'll have to read that. Anyways, there was Michigan and the Northeast. So there are new things going on all over the place. Remember to observe basic sanitary measures with your food. Again, I'm not a doctor. I worked in healthcare. I'm a mom. So, a lot of this stuff is basic common sense. And there's that. And we talked about this coming out. We talked about this specifically because Dark Winter, the template we found for Event 201, they were using this and smallpox, I believe, for the simulation. So yeah, it's strange. All right, guys, so that's everything. Plagues, famine, and pestilence, oh my. Be wise, though, just try to enjoy your life, enjoy your family. If you haven't talked to certain friends in a while, go visit them, physically visit them. Don't rely on this tech right now because it really isn't trustworthy. And I think it's a great addition to society, and it can be a great help. But when you have enemies, and those enemies seem to have ridden a Trojan horse right into America, and they've been here a long time, um, then things get a little messier. So just try to be wise. I love you guys.